I have plenty of scary horror stories to tell, but this one is the scariest. So I just got done watching the movie US by Jordan Peele. If you don't know what it is, it's a movie where family has to survive doppelgangers of themselves called the Tethered. It was wildly popular and made over $1 million throughout the movie. I kept getting scared and wondering if doppelgangers were real. I kept shaking it off. Maybe it was just a weird feeling. After the movie, I then went to bed and called it a night. About 4 hours later, I woke up and checked my clock. It was about 2 a.m. I then heard a weird noise in my backyard. It was my trash can knocking to the floor. I assumed it was the raccoons. My backyard was right in front of the forest. I brushed it off. 1 hour later, I woke up again. It was 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. My body, I then said in my mind, not sleep paralysis again. Then I saw in the corner of my eye a black figure in my doorway. I got so scared and I tried to move, but I couldn't. Just then, out of nowhere, the figure sprinted to my bed and stood at the end of it. I got a good look at it and I was shocked to see it was me. The figure had my hair, my eyes, and my skin color. I then thought about US. It was my doppelganger. Just then, it reached into its pocket and pulled out a giant kitchen knife. I was so terrified that I closed my eyes, thinking it wasn't real. Then my doppelganger put the knife away and walked out of the room. A few minutes later, I fell asleep. The next day, I woke up and I found out that I could move. I haven't had any more sleep paralysis episodes. I hope I don't have any more. Keep in mind, these are events that are happening right now in dreams and real life. Okay, so it all started 2 or 3 days ago. I went to bed and felt kinda off. So being Christian, I prayed and went to sleep wearing a silver cross my mom and dad gave me. That night, I had a weird dream. I woke up in a house I didn't recognize with a man I also didn't recognize. The house was old and part of the roof was missing. Foliage had encroached on the hall and climbed up the walls. I was standing next to a staircase, an old grandfather clock. Conversation with the man I didn't recognize stopped and raven flew in through the hole in the ceiling and landed on the railing of the stairs. I put out my left arm and it hops on. Suddenly, I am overcome with an urge and rip its head off with my bare hands, killing it and throw it at the man. My voice deepens and my diaphragm feels like it pops. Where is it? I'm running out of patience and won't wait any longer. I want the blue orb. I then awake to my pit bull licking my hand because she wants outside. The next night, I fall asleep with no problems, but my cross lays in my window. As I dream, I stand in a field, surrounded by 5 people, and the sky is filled with black and brown smoke. The sun is red, and I stick out my right arm. A large black raven flies over and lands on my arm, digging in its talons so tightly that I bleed and I feel them touch my bone. Feeling no pain, I flex my hand and speak to the group in my normal voice. This time, go! I whisper in intense sorrow. I now see the blue orb floating above me, and as my large-built lackeys run up, I slowly wander toward the horizon. That dream watch shorter, but I awake feeling absolutely dehydrated, and slam 3 large bottles of water. Now I'm sitting on lunch break at work and can't help but notice that a raven has been following me all day. If I'm working in back, it's the window. If I'm up front at register, it's at the door. If I step out back to smoke, it's there. And now, it's sitting on the electric box next to my truck while I eat. This took forever to upload. I'm home now and I continue to see ravens. There's a whole murder of them outside in my tree. I'm kinda getting nervous now. I was about 5 years old when we had moved into a house, and the community of this house had been buried on a graveyard. It was a couple of days since we lived there, and we started to notice weird things happening. Toys would move on their own. My mom and stepdad would hear footsteps in the attic. But one particular night really scared us to the point where we moved out that night. My bed had been right next to my parents' bed, and one night we were all asleep, and my mom hears something crawling on my bed like a human, and then it starts shaking my leg very aggressively. They got so startled and leapt on the spot. My mom says I never woke up when that happened, and we never went back since.